I don't do surgery. I don't know. Yeah, I know nothing about the rest of that stuff. I'm a
Okay.
glorified podorthist is basically it.
Okay. Hello and welcome to Podiatry Practice Mastery. My name is Don Pelto and I have Larry Huppin here with me today. Thanks, Larry, for coming to the show.
Hey, Don, sounds fun.
So I want to start and talk about your kind of how you've got involved with your website. You have a wonderful website. Those that are listening, it's www.footankle.com. And you have one of the best websites, in my opinion, in podiatry. So tell me, it hasn't gotten that way like this in 2021. Where did it start and what's been the transition?
It started in 1996. So I have a partner who was an electrical engineer before he was a podiatrist. So I have some ability to write and to market, and he's the tech guy. And back in '96, I worked for Orthotics as a medical consultant. I was flying a lot, giving lectures on orthotic therapy, and I would sit on airplanes and write content. And my partner put together the actual website itself, I think in Front Page at the time, Microsoft Front Page. And we just started throwing content up. And I mean, this is the time when nobody was finding medical through website, but we just kept throwing content up. And over time, it got bigger and bigger to a point, I think at least at one point, we had the largest foot education website in the United States, maybe the world.
Wow.
And through no real planning, just writing a ton of content, we started getting 4,000 hits a month, and then 10,000, and 20, 40, 60. And that's about where we are right now, at about 60,000 visitors a month. Only 4% are from Seattle, where we practice. And it just kept going. And then it got to be a little bit overwhelming, and it just got to be ugly, to be honest, and us building it ourselves. And so I think 2013, we hired a company to upgrade it, just make it responsive and mobile friendly and look better. But really still taking the same content. And probably right around that time, maybe a couple years before that, we had been getting about 20-30% of our patients from a large multidisciplinary clinic that we refer over. And they, of course, then hired their own podiatrist. So we had some downtime, and I started doing YouTube videos on foot problems, and those took off. I mean, it was amazing. It's amazing to me. I have one on broken toes that I think has 750,000 views right now. And that one's odd too, because I get these children constantly making comments that they think they've broken their toe. 10-year-olds going, hey, my 8 years old, I play soccer. I think I broke my toe. My mom won't take me to the doctor. I mean, it's really amazing. Anyway, so we started putting those on the website. And then, I mean, as you well know, YouTube is the second biggest search engine after Google. So those started getting hits. And that's actually where a majority of our patients come from now, is either patient referral or the website. I don't want to depend on any doctor referrals. We certainly get them, but I don't trust that they'll be there tomorrow. So I don't want to depend on them.
Yeah.
And the website is unique, I think, in that the content I mean, an average article is 3,000 words, and or I don't know, it's characters, words. Anyway, but they're long. They're long.
They're long copy.
Very, very detailed, much more detailed than most out there. And those become long tail keywords. So, that's where that comes up in search. So it works well for us locally, but we also wanted to take advantage of the fact that 96% of these people were not in Seattle. So we make recommendations on what products that people can get for purchase on their own to treat their own problem, and send them up to Amazon, and we get a little affiliate commission from that.
Yep, that's called the Amazon Influencers account. So neat. And just to kind of, we're talking to other podiatrists. If people are interested in starting this kind of, hey, doc, I don't have a website, I want to get started. For those that are starting out, what do you recommend? What's the easy way to get going? You think it's content? Is it video?
Any of these guys out there that are marketing to podiatrists, Foster Web Marketing, I think probably does a good job. And I mean, you can even take off a site or something like that. Although I don't like the idea of not owning my own website. So we just have a standard WordPress site. So however you get it set up, I mean, the key is just to recognize what you want to treat. I mean, my fellowship was in orthotic therapy. I have really no interest in doing anything other than sports medicine, mechanical problems. I don't want to do wound care. I don't want to cut nails. I don't want to do surgery. So what we do is we just write about what we are interested in treating, and that's it. I mean, my partner is a wonderful surgeon, and we certainly do a fair amount through him, but neither one of us do wound care. So I mean, honestly, the word wound or the word diabetic is not on the website anywhere. It's just not that's not the population that we're interested in attracting.
That's neat. And now there's another part. Now we're going to dive deeper in, because we've talked about the outer surface. Now there's these inner workings. If someone signs up for one of your free, I think what you're offering now is your shoe guide.
Yeah.
Then they get in this weekly rhythm. How was it setting those up? Did you do it? Did your partner do it? These email sequences?
I did it. And then, so what we do is, so I have two goals. Somebody comes to the website. I mean, most people come to a website, they disappear and you never see them again. So I want to do one of two things. I either want them to make an appointment if they happen to be local, or whether they're local or not, I want them to, I want their email address. So we offer them what's called a lead magnet. We offer a list of recommended shoes, and I can change it. So if it's on my page on heel pain, I can say I can call it the best shoes for heel pain. Or if I'll have it's an 8-page document, and I might have a page on heel pain shoes and a page on good shoes for bunions. So on the bunion page, I can say, oh, this is the lead, you can get free information on the best shoes for bunions. It's all the same document. It's just, I add a couple extra pages and I call it something different. So it's aimed at that particular page. And we get, I don't know, 300 people a week signing up for that thing.
That's a lot.
It blows me away. I mean, we're a little practice in Seattle. We shouldn't be getting this type of traffic, but it's an old site with a lot of content. And so we get their email, and we use a program called Active Campaign, which, there's tons of them out there. There's Constant Contact and Aweber and all these. We like Active Campaign because it allows a little bit more sophistication in that we can tag people. So if they come in on my bunion page, I can tag that they have an interest in bunions. So if I ever want to market to people who just have an interest in bunions, I can do that down the road. And then they get a series of 5 or 7, I can't remember, 5 or 7 intro emails saying, hey,
on that topic.
On that topic. And then from there, they drop into what we call our long-term nurture email. And I've probably got 100.
There's a lot. I'm still getting them every week.
And then I loop them back, right? So they will get every Monday at 1 o'clock your time, you will get an email from us on whatever topic I'm interested in. And again, these are all things I happen to be interested in. And almost they're short. They all will, the whole goal is to get them back to the website. So if they're local, they can make an appointment, or if they're not local, they can purchase a product.
Buy one of the products.
Yeah. And so, and those will go on forever until they unsubscribe. And because after 100, I can loop it back to the beginning, with my thought being they're not going to remember what the hell I sent them.
Well, and they're not going to read every single one.
Weeks ago, right?
Yeah. Now that's what we call, for those that are listening, that's called an evergreen campaign, meaning it's always working. Do you send one-offs as well to your patients, like a monthly newsletter, weekly newsletter, or you just stay the evergreen?
I was doing it a lot during the early part of the pandemic. I would be sending, I was sending one a week, one a month, one a week, and one every few weeks. I'm not as good at getting those out because I actually have to sit and do it. I may give your idea a try. I listened to your podcast on your 3-minute newsletter, and I might give that a try. Yeah, so I'm not as good at getting them out there, but my goal is hopefully most of those patients will sign up. And a lot of the ones I do send out to patients, part of the goal is to get them to sign up for the evergreen one.
Yeah,
because that's no work. I mean, it's been done. I might throw a new one every now and then, but once you write those initial ones, there's no other work for me to do.
Yeah,
it just goes on forever on its own.
Yeah, there's so many. You can do like your Apple. You can hit and dictate. You can do otter.ia where you can dictate it that way and have someone else edit it. So it doesn't have to be all you. That's what we're trying to. You have to delegate as much, but automating I think is the key. Well, I think we covered the marketing component. I want to jump now into your area of interest in orthotics. And a lot of us, if you ask any podiatrist, where's the low hanging fruit? What would you like to do more of? And it's orthotics. So tell me a little bit about how can podiatrists improve and do more orthotics in your opinion?
So we are not doing orthotic therapy particularly well in the United States. And it's not just podiatrists. It's the physical therapists aren't doing it. The podorthists aren't doing it well. But it's almost as if we stopped learning
after school
around the late 80s, right?
Yeah.
Maybe into the 90s. But, many people are still following exactly what Root and Weed taught us. I mean, John Weed was my professor my first 2 years. And they set an amazing foundation. But, that's not really the way orthotic therapy has been shown to function or the way that they practice through most of the world. And if you go to New Zealand, you go to Australia, you go to the UK, you're going to find a much more sophisticated level of orthotic therapy. And so, and if you practice orthotic therapy the way the best research shows us that it functions right now, you're going to be much more satisfied with the outcomes. It's more predictable on what you can accomplish with the orthotic, how orthoses function. I don't want to get into all the details of that right now. I don't think we have time for that, but there is, so you're going to be happier, patient's going to be happier, you're going to be able to feel more confident in accomplishing what you want. You can prescribe devices that are less likely need adjustment and yet will still do what they need to do. So first, even though my practice is mostly mechanical, I'm a big believer in doing the least expensive thing that's going to give my patients 100% of their potential outcome. So we use a lot of prefabs. I think there's a lot of evidence that orthotic therapy can be used either short-term or long-term. There are people that need orthotic therapy long-term, like a pair of eyeglasses. There are other people who need orthotic therapy short-term to get load off of tissue to allow it to heal and don't necessarily need orthotics forever. A lot of it has to do with the dosing of orthotics. Are you prescribing the adequate device to take adequate tension or stress off of whatever tissue you're trying to treat? So what my point gets down to, a lot of it has to do with learning modern orthotic therapy. And we are in an absolute golden age right now of education availability for this. And I'm going to mention a product that I have no connection to whatsoever, but we've talked about it before.
You mentioned it and I bought it. Yep.
Yeah. And so my first recommendation is to make yourself the expert in your area on orthotic therapy. And this not only allows you to be a better practitioner, but allows you to discuss it with more confidence, which means you're going to sell it more and more patients are going to buy into this treatment. So there is a program designed by an Australian podiatrist named Craig Payne. He's actually a Kiwi, but he lives in Melbourne, Australia. And Craig has for a few decades, I think, a couple decades, been traveling the world, mostly Commonwealth countries, giving what he calls biomechanics boot camp. These are weekend courses based with the best science and evidence-based orthotic therapy out there. Very, very practical. A couple of years ago, he put this into an online course for a couple of reasons. One, he had, like me, he was an older dad, had young daughters at home. And then number two is it was just too much information. Every time there was new information, you have to cut something out. So, and he could only fit so much into a weekend. So here this course is probably 30 hours long.
I haven't made through it. It's really long.
Yeah. Easy to digest though in like 20-minute chunks. They're little chunks.
And you can't skip. That's the problem. You have to do, just so you know, if you buy it, you have to do one at a time so.
And it is brilliant. It's just brilliant education on how to make yourself the expert in your area on orthotic therapy. And I think from it, you learn how not only to discuss it and perform it, but also how to market it. I mean, you start writing articles on the stuff that Craig is talking about, put that on your website, and you become the expert. I mean, for example, from a marketing perspective, we have a page on our website on orthotics for heel pain, orthotics for bunions, orthotics for top of foot pain, orthotics for
And you
side
have
of foot
videos
pain,
for
right?
each one too.
Yeah, so you can take that information you learn and really put that out there. So when people are looking for somebody to do orthotic therapy or to fix whatever the problem they have in their area, and they do it. So if you want to go and do this, it is Podiatry CPD Academy. CPD is in Australia, that's continuing professional development, RCME. So Podiatry CPD Academy. It's very well priced. I think it's 300 or 400 bucks for a lifetime access. And with that, you get he does a weekly update on all of the literature that's come around that past week on this. So it's great information, and it's an easy, I used to do it. I used to watch it while I was washing dishes. My wife loved it because I was much better at washing dishes when I was doing this. And so, yeah, so I mean, the first thing is obviously, and I think this is key, is to become the expert on orthotic therapy. Find a lab that also can work with you. And I work for a lab. It doesn't have to be that one. It's one where they have podiatrists who are really good with orthotic therapy that can work with you and be mentors as you're writing these prescriptions. And so I think that's the key. It's just become the expert. If you go through this, you'll be so much more comfortable with prescribing and adjusting, and then truly can be the expert in your area and be the person that people go to for that.
You know, I just want to reiterate what Larry said here, that those that are watching, the key in any area is, let's say you pick a topic, orthotics, you do 30 videos or 30 blog articles, and that's going to make your website the top for that, because no one has 30 content of anything. So really that's the easiest way to do this for orthotics. Now, how about in terms of, let's compare, Larry, where you're at now to when you finished school. What are some tips and tricks you wish you would have known in terms of, let's practical stuff about doing orthotics? I know there's like 50 options on my orthotic prescription pad to do an orthotic, but what are some tips and tricks for less coming back and doing more of them? And how do you explain it too, as well, to patients?
All right. So probably my biggest tip is, and this just goes back to what Kevin Kirby first started writing about in the early mid 90s, is recognizing how orthotics function. We're not trying to change alignment. There's no evidence whatsoever that orthotics predictably change alignment. They don't necessarily take a heel. If you put a varus wedged orthotic underfoot, it's not necessarily going to take a heel and invert it. In some cases that it may invert, some cases it won't move, other cases it'll evert. It's not predictable at all on alignment. This has been proven in very well done studies, but it's very predictable how orthotics affect forces. So orthoses function through kinetics, not kinematics. So the first thing is understanding how to check and see what you want to accomplish. Probably the number one tip I would say is to learn a test called the supination resistance test, which every Australian and every New Zealand podiatrist is going to know from the day they start practicing, and very few American podiatrists are aware of. This is simply a test where you put the patient in stance, you reach down and you lift up for example, under the navicular. You just have to be consistent where you lift up, and you see how much force does it take me to elevate that arch. And if it takes a tremendous amount of force, you're going to need to incorporate some features that put more force medial to the subtalar joint axis, some varus wedging features like a medial skive or an Blake inverted or whatever it might be. There's different ways to accomplish this. Whereas if that is really low, those are the people that are more likely to step down on a rock and turn their ankle really easily, right? You're going to want to put some force on the other side of the foot, on the lateral axis of the subtalar joint axis. And so number one thing is to know these quick and easy tests that are available to determine how to write these prescriptions. And then understand, are you trying to, what structure you're taking stress off? If it's posterior tibialis, what orthotic design features can you incorporate into that device in order to maximally take tension off that structure. You know, if it's the ball of the foot, they've got metatarsalgia, we know we want to get a device that conforms really close to the arch. That's what our best evidence says is going to transfer pressure off of that area. And that's simplified to some extent, but then I want to make sure that my orthosis is conforming close to the arch of the foot, which we all know many come back with not very good contour, right? You know, partly because nobody wants to adjust the thing if it's a little bit too high.
Yep.
I don't know. I think that's my number one thing. And the way I present orthotic therapy to patients is simply to describe their particular problem. So if they have plantar fasciitis, okay. Obviously I show them the anatomy of the fascia. I show them how when the foot flattens, it lengthens, that puts tension on the fascia. And then I talk to them about, I have a nice side view of the foot with the fascia. And I talked to him about Cogler's 1999 studies that show that what he did is he took cadaver legs, he loaded them down, the foot lengthened, and he put a strain gauge in the plantar fascia, and he measured what type of arch height does the best job of taking tension off the plantar fascia. So I explained that we want a device that conform in this situation. We want something that conforms really close to your arch. And then I have a bunch of high arched orthotic samples in every room. I can put that up to the arch. I can compare that to, you know, the super feet they're wearing or the custom orthotic they currently have that doesn't conform to the arch. And again, that really simplifies how orthotics work for plantar fasciitis, but it's an easy thing to get across. And then I tell them, look, you have a choice. We can either start with a better prefabricated orthotic, and I can guide you to the best orthotic, the best prefab orthotics that are available for you. And I have some here. You can get those on Amazon, whatever you're comfortable with. I can modify those for you, or we can move on to a custom orthotic. And the advantage of the prefabs, they're less expensive. You can be in them right away. I can modify them to make them work better for you. The disadvantage, they're still not going to get as much tension off your fascia as the custom device, and they're going to wear out faster, and they're not going to be covered by insurance, where your custom may be. The custom, the advantage, they're going to conform closer. They'll get more tension off of there. I can guarantee they'll be comfortable for you, although it might take a couple adjustments to get you there. They may be covered by insurance, but they may not. They're going to last a lot longer. The downside, they cost more. And if they're not covered, then there's that. And, you know, I mean, I just give them the choice, and I'd say half will still want to go with a custom orthotic, even if they're paying for it. Half will do a prefab, and a certain percentage of those will later go on to a custom orthotic.
That's great. And in terms of the high arch contouring, do you heat it up and adjust them in your office, or do you send them back to program?
I use polypropylene almost exclusively. So I don't like to heat adjust orthotics, so I lose the shape. But what I'll do is I'll grind them. So I'll take them I'll take the bottom of the orthosis up to the grinder, and I'll just grind it and make it thinner, more flexible. So
carbon graphite. You don't use
so I don't use carbon fiber for the most part, because I can't do that type of adjustment. I don't like to heat adjust. It's less predictable. But if somebody let's say with a poly device, if they have pain right at let's say it's at the calcaneal inclination area, I just thin that device right there and make it more flexible. And then you have less orthotic reactive force on the foot there. And that's a quick, easy way to do it. Obviously, you got to have a grinder.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I think we covered a lot here, Larry. I appreciate your time. We talked about marketing. We talked about orthotics. If people want to learn more, I don't know if you're still involved with the lab there. You can give them the address. They can learn more about the lab, or anything else you want them to see.
Yeah. So I'm the medical director part-time with ProLab Orthotics, which is prolaborthotics.com. If you want to see my website, it's just my office website is footankle.com.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Larry.
All right, Don. Have a great day.